What's happening, everybody? Welcome to today's live stream. We're going to be finishing up that Easter basket bowl. So I did most of the work, and I know that some people probably would have wanted to see that turned, but I did it this weekend to try and kind of get on top of that thing. Everything went pretty smooth, so we're just going to kind of finish it up. Now I'm at the point where I'm kind of at the higher grits of sanding, so I've done most of the work, so I didn't make you guys sit through sanding only. All we're going to be doing is sanding today on that, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to see the finished result. So it should be pretty cool. It's looking good so far. So I hope everybody's doing good today. Still hunkered down and all that kind of good stuff. My wife and I watched the country music, I don't know, whatever the country music award thing was last night, and it was weird, kind of. We're in a weird time. But anyway, and if you saw that, my favorite part was Shania Twain and her horse. That was by far the best thing. I don't really like country in the first place, so her songs were uplifting a little bit, a little upbeat, and her horse was hilarious. So if you didn't see that, make sure you go and check that out because it was awesome. But anyway, let's see here. So we got Ray, Connie. Connie came early. Eric's here. Billy, Jim. Let's see, Jim, and I think that's it. Jeff just showed up. So anyway, let me switch views real quick so you guys can kind of see what is on the lathe, what the bowl's looking like. It's pretty much almost done, but let's see, turning. Oh, let me turn off that light. It's blowing the shot out. There we go. And I can actually zoom in a little bit for you guys. So it's looking pretty good. Now, one thing I want to mention, and I've kind of mentioned this in the past, we'll have to see how this ends up in the end. But a lot of the colors, because I turned it so thin, they're not as pearly, let's say. It just kind of looks like a little bit of color in there. Nothing wrong with it, but you know, if you're going for certain things in a piece, and like I said, we'll have to kind of wait till the end to see how it turns out once it's polished. Whoops, wrong way. But you know, you have to kind of think about what's going to be the final dimension of the piece that you're working on, and that will dictate, you know, how much powder you need to add. If you're making pen blanks, you're turning it down to a really thin, you know, amount of material. The resin that's left, I mean, in some areas, I mean, it's probably less than an 1/8 inch. So very thin, you need to have a lot more powder because that powder kind of gets dispersed a little bit. It's spread out through the resin. And if you got a big chunk of it, there's little particles kind of in a bunch of different layers in there, kind of separated. But the thinner it gets, the less little particles there are and the less pearly it ends up. So you got to really load up pen blanks, thin things, you know, like probably like an 1/8 inch to, I don't know, a 1/2 inch, something like that. You're going to have to add a little bit more, 3/4 to an inch, maybe a little more. And then, you know, once you get to kind of 3/4 an inch, then you've got a pretty big, big chunk where you don't necessarily need a lot of powder to get effects. So I just wanted to kind of mention that. So on the Patreon live stream, we made this block. We did a couple different things. We were making dragon egg. You'll notice that it's kind of funky on the ends. This was liquid diamonds, and I think it actually got a little hot. I kind of forgot that liquid diamonds, even this. It's about a 2x2 by 6.5. It's a little bit much for liquid diamonds, so it kind of got a little bit hot, but nothing wrong with it. One of the things that I can, let's see if you guys can kind of see. You see how the grass kind of turned a little bit brown? Let me get this stupid camera. Let me switch cameras and show you. I want to show you something because the grass actually kind of got burned, kind of, sort of. Which one? This one. The grass is kind of brown in areas. Am I on the right camera? Yeah. See how it's just a little discolored in there in some areas. So the resin got a little bit hot, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. The rest of the blank turned out cool, and so a lot of people were like, "Well, that blank you're not going to use the whole thing. It's kind of weird," and I didn't really intend to make one thing out of this. I'm going to go kind of dragon egg on this side, and then I'm going to make like a stopper or something on the other end. So pretty cool. And I'll have what we were doing is I was kind of showing my newest iteration of how I do the dragon egg stuff, how to kind of paint on, like the burls. how to make that effect. I've tried a bunch of different things, and so far I'm not super thrilled with any of them necessarily. This is the best way to go, and all I'm doing here is using, you know, whatever resin whatever resin you're going to cast with. So I'm going to be editing out that portion, the demo part of that, and it'll be up. Shoot, I should have done that actually by Sunday, but I had to download the whole video, so I got to edit it, and I'll get it up eventually, so you can kind of see that. The main thing with the Patreon only is the Q&A. That's kind of the extra bonus for the patrons. I want to be able to kind of answer questions directly with people. It's a smaller group of people, so I can kind of really focus on the chat and help people out. That's kind of the main thing. And most people don't really want to see that. They're not going to sit through an entire Q&A hangout. But I will pull out that demo part and then put it up on YouTube so everyone can see it. So the other thing I wanted to mention before we get going, you guys might have seen the pictures of this hemp wood stabilized, and it looked like it was all like super brilliant colors and all that. And a lot of people kind of flipped out, and I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that they were still wet. I hadn't baked it, and so they're going to dull out. I still have a batch. All of those colors in the picture that I posted are still soaking. But I pulled these out, and they're, you know, definitely a little bit more dull. I just ran those straight vacuum. The other ones are going to be multiple colors. But I want to kind of show you. So they look super dull right now. However, they're going to be a little bit more vibrant when I actually turn them. So I'm going to hit them with a little bit of denatured alcohol. So, you know, they're still pretty vibrant. I know this camera is kind of terrible, but still got some color in there. That's one thing that a lot of people kind of flip out. They finish baking their stabilized, you know, dye stabilized stuff, and they look dull, and they're like, what happened? You know, and sometimes you just have to kind of wait until you actually get finish on it or cast it for it to really kind of shine up and look a little bit more vibrant. This isn't really working too well, but if you get it wet, basically, or, you know, put finish on it or something, it'll look a little better. Now, having said that, what I'm doing with the other ones, I'm trying to just let them soak for about a week. So the other ones, these were one color. I just ran them under vacuum with dyed cactus juice. And the other ones I let soak in cups for a while, and that's the picture you saw. Then I ran a full color under vacuum, and now they're sitting for about a week. I just want to see if they'll take up any more color. And I have, let's see, I don't have it with me, but I'm drying out some more of the hemp wood, and I'm going to try using a really super saturated color, like add a lot more dye to it, and run them like probably just a single color. See if that changes anything, if they get more vibrant or not. So I just wanted to kind of share those little tidbits with you guys. Sammy's here. Nice. Shop Dog, Sarah, Anna, what's up? Let's see, who else? Daryl Brantley, Tim Simmons, lots of people. Wow. There's 45 of you guys. Well, somebody just left. 44 watching right now. That's cool. Sharon, Dave Porter, Ray's here. I think Ray was here earlier. Yasser's here. Nice. William. Learn how he's way too. Yeah, that's the other thing, that for people that are dye stabilizing, you have to put a lot. Like, you're going to start with 1 ounce. So, and I've gotten to the point, people ask me what kind of dyes I use. You can use most of the Alumilite dyes. Keep in mind, those are transparent, you know, thin dyes. They're super tiny particles. I have to be honest, at this point, I just use the Cactus Juice brand. I know that every single one of them is going to work. They have colors, like they have black now, which you really got kind of mixed results using the Alumilite black. So I just use them. But either way, it doesn't matter which ones you're using. This is a 4-ounce bottle, but you want to like start with 1 ounce per gallon. So you're dumping like, you know, a fourth of this bottle in. The little Alumilite dyes, if that's the way you want to go, I guess this might be a little bit more telling and explain. So The Alumilite dyes, if you just get the little bottles, this is 1 ounce. Like you would add an entire bottle to one of the gallons. All right? Whole bottle in your gallon to start. You may want to add more. In some cases, maybe it's a little bit too strong for the type of wood. The problem with stabilizing is there's no science. It's not like an exact science. Every single piece of wood is going to be different, literally. So even if you stick with like Buckeye burl, the grain direction, how tight it is, and all kinds of other factors are going to change how the color comes out. So it's kind of tough, but you definitely need to add a lot of dye to it. Usually what I've found is somewhere between 1 and 2 ounces per gallon. And if you're not using an entire gallon, you can split it off into a half gallon, a quarter, and you'll just adjust how much dye you put in. But those are the numbers that you're looking at, like 1 ounce per gallon, 2 ounces per gallon, something like that. So anyway, and somebody else had a question or a... So yeah, it's the same Alumilite or cactus juice. It's the same ratios and all that kind of stuff. Oh, sorry. Let's see. Somebody else. Let's see. William. Have I got anything on making your own Canada Goose call guts? Nope, I don't have any of that. And frankly, are you talking about like the insert or like the outside thing? Either way, it doesn't really matter. I have one video on making a duck call blank. But the thing is, I just don't know enough about making calls to even put up a video. I totally screwed up the length on my duck call. It was too long and it didn't sound good. And all the actual hunters were like, oh, you screwed that up. But the blank was cool. All right, so cactus juice. So Kate is asking what cactus juice is. Okay, so resin casting is what this is made out of resin. Like an epoxy, that's casting. Cactus juice is a product to stabilize wood or other materials, and it's not a casting resin. It doesn't work the same way. I have some videos if you want to look up stabilizing. I have some playlists that'll show you kind of what's involved with the process. But basically what you're doing is kind of plasticizing the wood so that it doesn't move. You're basically removing all the air and the moisture out of the wood and replacing it with a resin, not like epoxy. It's totally different than epoxy, but you're going to fill it with a stabilizing resin, bake that, cure it in there, and it's kind of like plasticizing the wood. And like I said, what it does is once you've gotten the air and moisture out of the wood, filled it with something else, then it can't really absorb moisture. And it does two things. It allows you to, it stiffens up the wood fibers. So for wood turning, if you have punky wood, something that's super soft and it's just not it may not be turnable at all, stabilizing can help in that sense. And for other things, it helps with wood movement. If you need something like, there's a lot of people that make like woodworking tools or measurement tools out of wood. Wood will pick up and let go of moisture, and it makes the wood kind of move. It swells and moves. And so by doing the stabilizing stuff, that will kind of stabilize that wood so it's not picking up any moisture. It can't really suck any up. It can suck up a little bit, but it's not enough to usually make the wood be able to actually expand and contract and move. So that's what that is. All right, so let's switch to... And Kim's here, nice. We'll switch, that's not the right view. Well, yeah, that is the right view. So there's the view up, and I'm going to kind of, hopefully this won't screw anything up. I'm going to shrink that just a little bit. You can kind of see what I'm doing up in the top corner. But so where I'm at on this piece is, and before we begin, I wanted to share one other little thing. A lot of people were asking about my dust collection setup with the posts. So I'm going to kind of show you what I have over here. But the bowl is, on the outside, I've sanded up like all the way to the blue zona. I may have to retouch a couple areas if I kind of scratched it or nicked it. But I think that the back side is done. And then on the inside, we're kind of up to 400. There, I was kind of looking at it though, and I think I need to, there's a couple scratches still on the rim that I need to hit with 400. So I'm going to do a little bit more with 400 on this. But real quick, let's see if I can do this without jacking my camera up completely. I'm going to keep an eye on the actual thing. So back in the corner there, I have a dust collection hose hooked up, and that's like a 1 horsepower dust collector. It's kind of hard. I don't really want to move this camera because it tends to, the connection's tough. So basically it's this is your kind of standard dust collector back here. Let me lift this thing up a little bit. And I have a hose running to this thing. This thing is super old and terrible, but the dust collector worked pretty good, and I just have this little kind of thing. I honestly, just the hose was working good. The big shroud doesn't really do that much. But the other thing that I wanted to show you guys, I have a box fan with, that's a paint spraying filter, like a super fine filter on the front. And that box fan just kind of, it's next to the, you know, the dust collector. But if you can get it kind of close in, it will help pick up any fine dust that's kind of floating around. And then in my shop update video, I have a one of those general air cleaners up in the ceiling kind of. And so I have kind of like 3 layers of dust collection that I'm trying to get. But it's working okay, but the problem is, honestly, there's no excellent way to collect dust at a lathe. What I'm trying to do is minimize, you know, the collection necessary. But if you look on the ground, there's you know, it missed, oh, sorry. It missed a bunch of shavings down here that just kind of flew off. To be honest, I don't really care too much about the big shavings. They're easy to clean up. You just shop vac them afterwards. The problem with resin turning is it turns into a really fine powdery dust, and it gets everywhere in the shop. So any way that you can kind of collect it at the source is kind of good. But like I said, I still, even with a box fan, a shop, you know, air filtration system, and a dust collector, I still had dust in the air. I actually kind of had a sneezing fit last night because I took my mask. I was wearing a mask anyway, but I took it off, and obviously there was still fine dust floating around, and it made me allergic.
Stop. I want to show you something really
Oh my goodness. Hold on.
So I just launched a brand.
Shush. I don't want to hear you. Julie's here. How's it going? And Doug is here. Okay, so let's do a little bit of, let's see. Let me make sure that you guys have, yeah, you got a pretty good view, I think. You can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm going to look at this screen. Yep, you're looking okay. So 400 grit and wet sanding. So one thing I do want to say, what I used to turn this, the whole thing, was my #1 hollower. This thing rocks. This is, like, honestly, if you do, you know, bowls and other larger kind of projects, spheres, this is a really good tool for resin turning. The #1 hollower from Easywood Tools. It's the go-to. All right, so let me find a piece of 400. Let me see if I can get a close-up kind of thing. I want to see if I can show you the scratches. I don't know if it'll pick it up or not. A couple scratches on the rim. There's one like right there, so it's all dried right now. I actually already sanded it with 400, but there's still scratches around the rim here, and a couple other ones that looked a little bit bigger than 400 in there. So we're gonna do a little bit more work with the 400. And to be honest, I've been getting excellent results without even turning the lathe on. So I'm gonna just hit the entire rim with 400. The thing is, I have a lot more control if I just do this by hand, and you're hitting the same area over and over. So it just kind of seems to work better. Just doing, oh, and one other thing that I've been doing is wearing gloves. I think the water's been like super drying my hands out. So that I don't know if, let's see, for anybody that was at the patron stream, I was mentioning, somebody asked about the pastes, and most people know that I don't really like the pastes. The one advantage to those sanding paste things is they're not water and they don't dry your hands out. It's oil and wax. But you still have to wet sand to get to the paste, so it doesn't really fix anything, I don't think. What happened to my, shoot. I lost the chat. Open. There it is. Wherever you go, there you are. It's true. So I know this is very exciting. Sanding. And I gotta be honest, I'm right there with you. I don't really like sanding either, but it's necessary, and I've tried to minimize as much as possible so that we can just kind of get through this, polish it up, and see where we're at. I think this thing's going to turn out really cool. It's not like the pearls in there kind of got, like I was saying, got a little bit kind of diminished. They're not as pearly. But I think that just having those little kind of wisps of color with like, I really like the purple and green. It goes really well together. And I think this is going to be a pretty elegant piece when we get it all finished up. All right, so, and I'm just going to kind of do a little bit more sanding. This is how I've been sanding this thing. It's just kind of doing it by hand. Another thing, doing it by hand, you're guaranteed not to overheat it. You really don't want to overheat the resin. So it's up to you, you know. I find that it actually, I can spend less time per grit if I do it this way. It actually goes faster. And I don't know if that's because I'm using more pressure or you know, I can't even explain why, but it just seems like I have less sanding to do if I just do it by hand. But it is a back killer, and it's kind of a, you know, you're using your arm muscles a lot doing it this way. Why is this thing shutting down on me? It's ridiculous. Let me just, maybe if I play the video, I'm going to play my own video. Watch my ad. Let's see what you guys are saying. Anybody saying anything? Tony's here. What's up? Carl likes to sand. I don't like sanding. I gotta be honest. It's really my least favorite part. Turning this went extremely well. It went quick, honestly. The back, I didn't do much to the back. It's pretty much the same shape as how I pulled it out of the mold. I just, you know, trued it up once I put the glue block on, and it was running, you know, relatively true out the gate. So it didn't take that long. Got it all sanded up. And then hollowing this out, you know, I just, like I said, I went with the #1 hollower with the negative rate carbide cutter. Obviously carbide. And then, yeah, and I just kind of hollowed it out. It's down to, I'd say it's close to about a 1/4 inch thick. And I wanted it to be thin because we need room to fit all these eggs in it. And I still don't even know if that big one with the 2 small ones is actually going to fit in here, but we'll find out. We'll see. And then I'm just going to kind of hit the bottom here with these kind of strokes. It's kind of hard to sand the bottom without it vibrating, so just kind of pull strokes. The 400 here. I'm definitely finding a lot of you guys, if you've been watching the stream for a while, I kind of cheat a little bit, and a lot of times I'll kind of dry sand up until like 400 grit or even past that, like through 400. And I got to be honest, I get better results when I when I wet sand pretty much from the start. So on this one, I did a little bit of dry sanding with 180 grit just to get the kind of bumps, the tool marks and stuff out. And then ever since, and then from there, it's been wet sanding. So definitely wet sanding works the best for resin. And the reason I dry sand with 180 is a lot of times you kind of need to stop and see, and I don't want to have to dry it off just to see if I've gotten the tool marks out. It's not, I don't think that you're really going to mess things up if you do one grit like that. All right, so let me hit this with the big light. You guys are probably going to get blown out on that, but I just want to look, and I think we're good now. I think we're up to, let me hit this. I see a little spot. Might have, oh, never mind. It's just some dust. Oh, actually, there it is. Let me just do a little bit right here. Looked like it was a 400 grit scratch, but sometimes it's kind of hard to tell. So that ought to do it. And then we're going to move up to 600 and then the polishing pads. So, and I've been really liking the silicon carbide paper. I like Abranet, but it is a little bit, I don't know. Silicon carbide works pretty good. I think either way is probably good, but I don't know. I'm getting pretty good results with the silicon carbide too. And I'd say that the problem is Abranet works great for almost everything. But I do kind of think silicon carbide might actually kind of edge out on resin, wet sanding resin projects. I don't know. So I'm going to do this by hand a little bit, then I'm going to turn it on, kind of let it run, and then switch back to going to doing the hand method. I'm going to turn this off so you guys can kind of see what's happening. I don't really need to see much. And I'm constantly getting more water and refreshing the pad. You don't want stuff, it'll kind of build up on your paper. And you don't want to, the problem, don't ever dry sand resin with silicon carbide, because the paper is a very closed grit. There's a lot of particles per square inch on there. And there's really nowhere for the slurry, the dust stuff that it's taken off to go. Even with water, you got to constantly re-wet it. So just kind of be careful with that. If you end up, getting the paper clogged, and then you kind of, sand with those particles sand with that slurry, the plastic dust stuff, you end up kind of burnishing scratches into the piece, and they're really difficult to get out once you do that. You usually have to drop down to like 120 grit to get those out, or just take another cut on the thing, resurface it. So you really don't want to do that. Keep the heat down, keep your paper from clogging, and you should be good. Let me see here. I'm just going to kind of scroll. Man, I'm way behind on the chat here. Grits and bacon for dinner? That sounds good. I love it. All right, so like I said, I'm just going to do this for a little bit, and then I'm going to turn the lathe on and let it kind of get a little help from the motor. But I just, for some reason, I just get better results when I do this. And it may be, you can maybe just turn the lathe on and then kind of finish up with a little bit of hand sanding, but I do believe you will probably get good, better results if you kind of give it a little bit of time just doing it by hand like this. It's up to you. Totally up to you. Let's see, do I have a piece of, I thought I did, a smaller piece of 600 that I can kind of get in here. So what's everybody up to today? Hope everybody's doing good. Hopefully you're out in the shop or at work or at home chilling. You know, this social distancing stuff is quite odd. Kind of unprecedented, I would say. Hopefully, we'll get through this without too much damage. Sarah fixed a washing line. Nice. Ida's doing wine stoppers. Melvin's hanging out. Nice. Finishing tax. Yeah, man. I got to do... oh, man. So usually I do, at the end of the year, or the beginning, let's say even, whichever way, I usually do this kind of like business retreat thing and plan and look at what, like add up numbers and, do all that kind of stuff. And for some reason this year, I just was not into it. I just did not have, I was in the middle of that shop remodel and I just didn't really want to take a few days off to do all that. I kind of knew what my goals were. I didn't really need to change them. And so I never did it. Well, the problem with that is I also didn't really add up any of my like figures. So I have to sit down and do all of that stuff still. It's not going to be fun. Oh, well. Let's see. Billy was in the shop turning. Let's see here. Did I miss anything? Oh, Eric's sneezing. Oh, man, yeah. Fixing your lathe. Avoiding the Rona. Yeah. Casting lots of sphere blanks. Man, you're a madman. You go through lots of blanks and projects. I don't have enough energy to do as much work as you do. I'm just going to go around the rim, I think, and do this ahead of time because I have a feeling I'm going to have to anyway. And again, I'm not really giving it a whole lot of pressure. Let's just say kind of medium. Let the sandpaper do the work. And if it's not working, then you might need to, drop down a grit. Shouldn't take too long per grit, but you got to give it its time too. Luckily, the next, there's only 3 after this, and they go a little bit faster. And frankly, once you get it up to around, I don't know, at least like the green Zona paper, at that point, you can pretty much get most of those types of scratches out with the Triple E buffing wheel. It just kind of makes the buffing go a little faster if you do a little bit of more sanding or using the polishing pads. So I've been going up to the blue Zona. Usually I only go to the green one, or I'm sorry, the gray one. Let me get this rim. I kind of did a little bit of shaping on that. So it's just not super polished. All right, and then I'm going to turn the lathe on. I'm going to put some glasses on here. Poke my eye out first. And we're going to run the lathe. Just get some water on there. I'm just going to kind of give it a few more minutes on the inside here. I've got the lathe running at like 160, very slow. The inside, that's probably too slow for this middle part. So, you know, I can turn it up a little bit to get on that middle, but you really don't want to be going too fast on the outsides of the rim of the bowl. So I'm going to turn that back down. Better to sand too much with one grit than not enough. And I find the most difficult parts are going to be like the corners, you know. It's usually not that hard to kind of get this more flat part, but where you're kind of meeting a flat to a curve, those are usually the harder parts to get on a bowl. That may be obvious to most people, but that's where I always, at the end, you see a few extra little scratches. So I always try to give a little bit of extra time trying to get, you know, right in that kind of elbow or corner, let's say. Let's see here. Is Ashley here? Someone said Ashley. I don't know if that's Chipped Builds or someone else. Let's see here. GL Woods double die stabilizing. Some black ash. That's a good one that takes color pretty well. Sitting in works parking lot procrastinating. Nice. Kim's doing laundry. Beer tap handles. Nice. Sorry, I know I'm not doing anything. I'm just trying to kind of catch up here. Watch parts blanks. Nice. I don't have the patience for that. Sarah's, oh, the moon. Yeah, that's a good idea. Craft coat. Nice. What did you think of it, Tony? It's, yeah, to be honest, it worked good. I did it on the mesh blank in that video. And I don't know. Oh, nice. Your first Zona paper. Let me know how you like it. Honestly, I haven't had anyone that's like, oh, they're terrible. Mojo, how's it going? Yeah, well, Mike, I like a CA finish on pens, but for things that you really can't get a CA finish on very well, I think and actually, you know what? I'm gonna switch my water. Can you guys see? It's nasty. So I'm gonna go and kind of dump this out, get me some fresh water. That's kind of, I learned that trick from Ben. And I've known it for a while. I kind of used to do that, but usually I'm a little bit kind of lazy about that. And so Ben does it like at 400 or 600 grit or something. Ben over at Ben's Works. I find that my rule is I switch the water when I move to the Zona papers. It just seems like a good time to switch it out. The Zona papers are even more close grit, or closed grit, I guess you would call it. And they're finer, and you know, at that point you don't want to introduce scratches. And I mean, some people use different, like separate water for every grit. I don't know that I have the patience to do that. And I don't know if it matters that much, but I mean, if you want to be super serious about it, That's definitely the best way to go, you know. So again, I'm going to do this, a little bit of hand. So this is the first grit of Zona. I think it's somewhere around 750. I tried to kind of do some calculations. They tell you the micron level, and I tried to kind of figure out sort of what the micron levels are for your sandpaper grits. And so I don't know. We'll see. Somewhere around 750. So we just stopped at, just got done with 600. Hit it with some 750. And then the gray one is 1150 or so. The gray Zona. And then I don't know what the blue one is. It's even higher, somewhere around 2,000 or 3,000 at least. It's definitely getting shiny. I don't know. Can you guys kind of see the shiny coming out? Yeah, you guys can kind of see that. This may not be the best angle, but at least you guys can kind of see what's going on without me totally in the way. And like I said, I don't know. It's up to you how you sand. I know a lot of people use like the little inertial sanders and get good results, and there's tons of different ways to sand. I have no clue if this is any better than anything else. Give it a try if you want. If you're getting good results, I wouldn't waste your time messing with changing it. Do whatever method works the best for you. I'm really putting a lot of effort into this because I don't really want to have to come back later and mess with it. I want to try and get this thing, we got time. Let's try and put the time into it. I know it's not the most amazing thing to watch, but I'm trying to get this thing perfect today. So I'm putting the time in. And it'll kind of give you guys an idea, the problem is to get flawless results, you really have to be diligent with your sanding. Luckily for smaller things like pens and stuff, you really don't need to spend nearly the same amount of time. It's obviously it's a smaller piece, so it doesn't require as long. But you still have to put the work in to get the good results. Now, another way you could go on something like this is you could just sand it up to like 400 or 600 and then just hit it with like lacquer. That's much faster. You're still going to have to kind of finish the finish. I just, unless you have like a spray, like a full-on spray booth and like professional spray equipment, it's really hard to get a perfect, finish from like a spray can. Rattle can type thing. So you probably would have to do a little bit of work, but it's it'll be pretty good off the can. So I'm going to turn the lathe on for a little bit, just kind of let it do its polishing thing. I'm missing a lot of stuff here. Yeah, I got to be honest, Eric. I mean, it is exhausting how much sanding you have to do, and it kind of just depends, because you can get pretty good results, but there's still maybe scratches, so it's up to you. That's another thing that I tend to see. Some people just kind of sand up to whatever, maybe use one of those abrasive pastes or a plastic polish, and it's shiny, but there's still a ton of scratches in it. So it's up to you, how much you really want to put into it. Now, if you're going for something that looks like glass, you're going to be sitting here sanding all day. I mean, it's probably taking me as long to sand and polish as it did to turn this thing. So just depends. And you can get pretty good. Like I said, I've been pretty happy with just hitting it with lacquer. That's a pretty easy way. Give it about 5 coats of lacquer and you're pretty good. And in some cases, that's the only way to go. If you need to seal off, the materials in it, then that's kind of the way that you need to do it anyway. But I definitely recommend trying different ways, different methods. If you're kind of just getting into it, try and give it, full sanding, polishing. Try some of that, the pastes. Give them a shot if you want. Plastic polish, I know it gets expensive trying all these different things, but for the most part, you're really going to have some finish on hand regardless, All right, that thing's looking pretty good, I think. I don't think I'm going to do a whole lot of investigating on it. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to call it pretty good. I spent a lot of time sanding that. So now we're moving up to 1150. Cling net mesh. Yeah, well, I don't know. The meshes are all kind of the same. My biggest worry, why I've because I really do like Abranet, and I'm sure that whatever Cling Spore's brand is, no different than Abranet. I've been using Mirka abrasives for a long time. I kind of found them. They're very high quality. They're expensive, but I've been using them for a long time at this point, and so I know their entire line. And for me, it's fine, whatever. I could try other things, but it's not really worth wasting the time. But I'm kind of, any of those mesh type, like Abranet or Cling Net, whatever. I don't know what it's called. It's metal, and that's always kind of, it's some sort of a kind of a hard thing, that mesh part. And I kind of like the silicon carbide because it's just, paper on the back, and it's a little bit more flexible, I think. So that's why I kind of have been messing around with it. I honestly couldn't tell you if it's better or worse, or, The other thing is, it depends. Trying to test sandpaper on like a resin finish, it depends on how much time you put into each grit. Like it's more telling how good a job you did. And it's kind of hard to tell if it was the sandpaper's fault or yours. I'm going to turn the lathe up a little bit here and get this inside a little bit further. And the thing is, the outside of this bowl is going faster than the inside. And I want to say it's like the feet per minute. The inside, and that's why I usually sand pens at 300 or 400, maybe 500 even, because they're just not rotating as fast or going as fast. I don't know. Maybe one of you guys can. I'm not sure which number. I don't know the whole thing's going the same RPMs, but I think it has to do with feet per minute or something like that. It's the same reason why you need to kind of slow things down when you're turning a big bowl. The outsides are going faster than the center. I'm just going to spend a little bit more time, make sure I'm getting this kind of elbow area. Like I said, that's the spot that just seems to need more time all the time. So let's hope that we're getting all of our scratches, and we can just call this a day once we hit it with the buffing wheels and polish. That'll be awesome. All right, so I'm going to wipe this off, see what we're looking like. Yeah, I think we're doing pretty good here, guys. I don't know. Realistically, the way that you need to look at something like this to really investigate it is you got to get it with a high intensity light at the right angle. You know, and another trick to sanding is, you know, you can kind of alter the direction that you're sanding with each grit, and that will help out and let you know, once all the scratches are going the way that you just sanded, then you know that you're ready to move on to the next grit. It's kind of the simplest way to do it. Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult doing that, though. Tell you what, if I can get this to look this crystal clear, I think that this is going to be a killer project. I just hope the eggs fit in this thing now. If the big one doesn't fit, I may just have to turn another smaller one to fit into this thing. I'll just leave the big one. It'll be on its own. Yeah, well, I don't know if they're necessarily more vibrant. If I could honestly say that, it kind of seems that way. But I mean, I've gotten extremely vibrant colors from Alumilite dyes as well. But I think the biggest problem is there's colors that you just can't achieve with Alumilite dye that Cactus Juice has. They've got a pink that's impossible with Cactus Juice unless you just go really light red. Not that much red dye. They've got black that works really well. Like they have certain colors. There's a lime green that's pretty much impossible with Alumilite. So it is kind of nice. They've got you kind of covered, I would say, with a lot of colors. And at this point, it's just what's the point of using two different ones? Just kind of stick with the Cactus Juice. But like I said, I don't necessarily know that they're more, like the same color is more vibrant in Cactus Juice, if I could say that, if I've found that. But to be honest, guys, I'm really not an expert stabilizer. I don't like doing it that much. It's a lot of time. And so I kind of do the minimum possible. I don't do a lot of testing because it's not a very scientific thing. So I just kind of wing it and get what I get. So, there's other people that might be able to, that maybe process more product that would feel a lot more comfortable saying that. I don't do enough of it to know, or have done like experiments with, Alumilite and Cactus Juice. Not to be disagreeing, Mike. It just, I don't know. if that's true or not personally. So this one is like a 2,000, 3,000 grit or something. It's the third Zona paper. I think I'm going to hit the back side of the bowl again with the 3,000 or with this blue as well. Just to make sure that if I got any little scratches, maybe I can kind of get it out with this when I was turning the inside, you know. I'm going to do a little bit of hand polishing here. The reason I'm wearing gloves is I've been getting my hands have been drying out a lot, and I think that has to do with me using the water when I'm sanding. So not too bad. I've seems like I've been getting, I haven't had that problem with my hands lately, so might not be a bad idea. At the same time, gloves are kind of, I'm starting to kind of get worried because it's hard to find gloves. Like I don't think Costco, I don't know, I haven't been in Costco. I kind of trying to stay away from that place. And kind of every place at this point, but a little worried. You can't just get them at any normal place. I think my dad's got a stash somewhere, so hopefully if I run out, I'll be okay. What's up, Russell? How's it going? We're just doing a little bit of polishing. Just about done here. So we can part this off. Although I gotta be honest, guys, I get to this point where like I've got a perfect finish on it, and then like parting the project off is always scary. I usually chicken out and just pull out the saw. But I'm gonna try and take down a little bit of wood so I'm not sitting there sanding it. And then what I'm going to do, actually, we will have something to do today, like turning wise. I'm going to put the coal jaws on, and we'll kind of turn off the bottom nub on this thing. And then after that, we just have buffing to do. Buffing and polishing, I guess, or whatever. However you want to say it. Well, really, it's just buffing after this. That's all I'm doing. All right. Now, another thing that people, some people like to do is just use the Zona papers and go all the way up. Chad likes doing that on a lot of like the handles and stuff. Now, I don't know if he would say the same thing about bowls, or what, but you can just, every way, every method it's exactly the same. All you're doing is just going through finer and finer abrasives. It just depends on which one seems to work best for you, which abrasive style. For me, buffing seems to be the most consistent. I get the most consistent results using buffing wheels at this point, but obviously I mix in a whole slew of different things. All right, so I'm going to move my light out of the way. Yeah, you don't have to. The thing is with casting, what you do have to do is you can't cast, and I say wet wood, but a lot of people don't understand. When you're casting something, you need to have it at 0% moisture content, not equilibrium. So you really want to you either have to seal it somehow, which is a pain, or you need it to be fully dried out. And so I prefer to just stabilize it. I'm going to have to dry it out anyway. And generally, the other advantage I would say to stabilizing stuff is you kind of bring it closer. If you're going to cast it, you bring it closer to the hardness of the resin. And so it just, to me, it's it allows me to have things kind of just ready to go whenever I'm ready to cast it, rather than having to dry it out and then take it out of the oven and hurry up and cast it. It allows me to kind of do at my schedule, and when you turn it, it's a little bit nicer. The other thing it does is if you use dyes in your resin, it'll block dyes from bleeding into the wood also. So there's a few advantages to stabilizing if you're going to be casting. I'm actually going to get my small super small rest and get that in there. So I'm just going to kind of nibble away at this block here. I'm gonna move the camera real quick for you guys so that you're not just kind of off to the side. I can move my box fan at this point. I'm done with this. So give me just a second here while I get things resituated. So let's cross our fingers and hope this thing doesn't go flying. I used epoxy this time, so it shouldn't fall off. I'm always nervous at this point, though. And like I said, I will likely chicken out early, pull out the saw, because I'm not a big fan of trying to catch bowls flying off the lathe. Don't worry, I see the camera. I'm going to make sure that we don't lose signal. Wiggling the connection in the camera is messed up because this wire is really heavy. So I'm trying to be sort of careful here, but it'll probably drop off here and there. But I'll make sure it's good to go before we start. Sorry, don't watch the camera right now. It's just not going to be a good time. Okay, that ought to be pretty good. Is it on? Yes. We got signal. We're good to go. Juniper maple? What's juniper? Juniper maple. Never heard of that. I'm going to be getting 7,000-year-old bog oak. Sweet. I got some of that. Actually, John Clothier gave me some. I need to do something with that. People give me things and I'm like, I don't know. I can't do something stupid with it. So I'm like, it just sits while I think up some project. I got to get to that. All right. So let's get in here. See what we can do. Like I said, likely going to chicken out early on this one, but we'll get in there and see how far we can get. Okay, that's as far as I'm going. That's as far as I'm going to go, guys. We're cutting it from here on out. 'Cause I'm a chicken. So get my flush cut. Oh, that's the more aggressive one. I got to get on the back side of this thing. Why do they put... Oh. Yeah, there's like two different things, and you got to be on one side of the... Let me just see if I can get in here and do this. Maybe if I turn... There we go. Not too bad. Just got a little bit of work to do on the bottom here. Hopefully you guys can see that. Very thin bowl. This is probably one of the thinnest bowls I've ever made. What do you guys think? Round of applause. All right, Sarah. I know it's kind of a boring one tonight, but you're going to miss the only turning part of this show, though, if you leave now. So let me, again, don't look at the screen, guys. I'm going to move this thing back a little and tilt up. So I got the big easy, or is it the big jaws? What do they call it? Easy Wood Tools is things. I don't know what they're called. They're basically coal jaws. To be honest, I got like the biggest ones, and you really don't. I don't know. I'm probably not going to use. I don't know. It'll be nice to have the capacity, but I generally don't use most of these jaws ever. I don't know which size I actually got, but I got pretty big ones. I'm like, well, if I'm going to get them, I want to be able to do anything with them. I do love the Easy Chuck. This is by far the greatest chuck out there, I think. So simple. It's so easy. That's why they call it the Easy Chuck. I already used this on this project once. I loaded the blank up in this, and what was I doing? Oh, and I flattened the bottom so I could get the glue block on. So hopefully I won't. The only thing that I don't like is what's not easy about this is you have to, these are all screws, and you never get the thing right the first time. Never. But I think it'll fit. I think we're good on this, actually. Ooh. Dang it. It's just barely too small. Oh. I don't think that's going to be tight enough. Let's see. Let me see if when I tighten this thing, I might have to change these little nubs. I think it's all the way tight. If they could come up with a way to quickly adjust the little rubber things, that would be fabulous. Yeah. That's not going to work, guys. I'm going to have to move them all. So at least you can see how this works. Is the camera on? Yeah. It's very exciting. Oh, we lost the light. Famous last words. Lagunas are made for lefties. I don't understand. Yeah, I could have put a paper towel in, but that's okay. I'm trying to conserve my paper products. It's a pandemic. I don't know if you noticed. turn them off by hand. I don't understand what that means. And back off again. Who's reasonable in their pricing? Midnight in the UK. Yeah, Fred makes really good silicone molds. Definitely, I really like his molds for the tube in. And I got a few of his, like the single blank molds that are silicone. And what else? Another thing that he makes that's really good is the little rack, the HDPE rack. He makes good HDPE molds as well. He makes lots of good stuff. Oh, and the Geezy molds. He nailed it with those. I don't want to go too tight on this. I'm not doing that much to it. But the bowl is pretty thin at this point, so it doesn't really need to be locked down, I don't think. I'm just going to kind of trim it up a little bit and move on. I'm going to put a new battery in this light so I can see what's going on. Got to be honest, guys, for shop task lights, these battery-powered LEDs are pretty awesome. They're really pretty cheap. And the batteries, they all work. It's all the same batteries for everything. So I really recommend, look into it. If you need task lighting. All right, so I'm just going to pull out the number 1 hollower again, a little low. That looks pretty good. Don't need to go too fast either. Whoa. These things make a lot of noise. Okay, a little faster than that. One thing that's nice about the Laguna is you have the other remote. I'm gonna switch, so I'm doing the controls behind this, so I don't have to reach around this thing. This can be a little bit dangerous, The heck? I think I might need a new cutter. I'm gonna switch to my other round one. Oh, I always forget. All right, oh, controls are on the other side. Yeah, it is pretty nice. You got the rack too? Yeah, those things are pretty sweet. All right, so can you guys see what's kind of going? Let me get behind the camera and see what you're looking at. I'm going to zoom in. I still got a little bit on the rim to take off there. You see that? So, and what I want to do is just make sure that it's kind of dished. I want it to be kind of dished in a little bit so that it sits flat. All right, so I think we're good to go now. Now it's just a matter of kind of smoothing it, and like I said, I want it to be a little bit dished in the center. And one thing that you can do, what I usually do is I just grab a ruler and just kind of take a peek and see, if it's rocking, then I'm going to definitely take some off in the middle. Now it's looking pretty good. I'm just going to give it a little bit more time here in the middle. Try and kind of smooth out some of these marks. That doesn't work. Yep, that looks pretty good. I'm gonna, one more second here. All right, good to go. Now we just gotta do a little bit of sanding. More sanding, guys. Are you guys ready for more sanding? Very exciting. Aren't you glad you tuned in? The sanding show with Zach. All right. Let's see here. Caster's Choice mica rack. Nice. I'm not sure. Juan, are you asking me if I'm going to Maker Central? I mean, I'm set to go, but I don't know if it's happening. At this point, I'm kind of thinking it probably won't. And we'll have to kind of see when we get closer to that point what the deal. We're gonna have to kind of see how this all pans out first. All right, so get our sham. We got to have a ShamWow to protect the lathe bed. Get our water, and I gotta watch out. These wings almost hit my little tub thing. Okay, so I got it pretty. I'm still gonna have to start at like 180 probably. So, but I think what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to wet sand the whole time because I really don't want to have to turn on. And I'm just going to use the Abernet. I'm going to switch back to the headstock remote. We can go a little bit faster because we're only working kind of on the inside here, like the center. So I'm going to speed it up just a little bit, but I just didn't want to have to deal with the dust. So I'm taking out the tool marks with 180. And then we'll go through our grits. This one will probably go pretty quickly. It's much easier sanding a flat surface than curved, so it generally takes less time. All right, I think that's pretty smooth. That's 400. Find me a piece of 220. Let's see what the chat's doing. Where'd my phone go? I lost the chat, guys. Here you are. Here you are. Watching sanding is so relaxing. I know, it's very exciting too. Put you guys right there. All right, 220. Let's slow it down just a little bit. Don't need to be a hero. Don't need to be a hero. But I do like the cold jaw thing. It's nice to be able to do that. Eventually I want to get a vacuum chuck. I think that would be pretty wicked for switching things, but to be honest, I would usually go for a mortise, you know, an innie, I always call it, rather than a tenon when I was turning, you know, smaller bowls and stuff. Because I frankly just didn't want to have to sit here and mess around with the bottom. But what I've found is it is a lot harder to sand the inside of a mortise, you know, on these little bowls and get all the scratches out. It's almost impossible to, you know, get into that dovetail corner. So this is a much easier way to go. And I'm just not a big fan of making jam chucks and all that kind of stuff. I'd rather have a tool that does that for me. All right, that's probably good. 220, 400 next. Wipe this off. I just hope they start baseball season up again. We're really missing the baseball season. That's our favorite sport. We were gonna go see a Dodger game in June, I think. Sad. Now I don't know if they'll let us into the state. I don't even know if I want to go to California. All right, 600. See, the bottom's going pretty quick, at least. And let's see, there's 400. 600. Let's see here. What do you guys? Soccer, yeah. That's what the rest of the world usually likes. You love sanding when someone else is doing it. I know. Yeah, I know it's in August, but I'm still, I don't know. We'll have to kind of see what happens. I'm not holding my breath. But hopefully things will be back to normal by then. All right, 600. Tell you what, I really hope that we can get out there. I don't mean to sound all alarmist in this crazy time. I'm just trying to be a little bit reasonable, not say anything. But yeah, we totally plan to go. That is by far probably that's the best event that I've been to. That has to do with turning, making, all that kind of stuff. It was just so much fun. People were awesome. The all the people that were there, the YouTubers, really went all out. Like there was all the booths and all the stuff to do was just amazing. Really fun. It was a best event that I've been to. So as long as we can do it, we're pretty much there. Now, typically I would be stopping in between each grit and really inspecting this. It makes it hard because the typical lights that I would use are not here, and so I'm trying to do what I think is the enough work on each grit here without really investigating it too much and inspecting it. But I really recommend, it's a good idea to really look in between grits and try and get a raking light. You'll know if you have more sanding to do. It'll be pretty apparent. There'll be, scratches here and there that you know that you need to take out. All right, and then on to our, oh, that's stupid. Don't put those under the phone. Getting water on my bed. Okay, wipe this off, and then onto the Zona papers, and then we can start buffing this thing and see what it looks like. I'm ready. This didn't really take that long, honestly. Now I probably should change out the water, but we're just going to go for it. I think I'll be okay. I think turning this, I worked on it, let's see. Doing the back didn't take long at all. Once I had it, the glue block on and everything was ready. I think turning the back probably took like 20 minutes, maybe 15. And then sanding the back, that probably took about an hour, maybe. And then turning the inside, and it was I didn't have any waste material or anything. It was all resin. It didn't take that long to turn, a few hours maybe. And then sanding took a little bit longer, obviously. You saw half of the sanding. And I probably spent even more time on the initial grits. But you could get this thing done in a day if you started, earlier. I didn't start working on this until the afternoons. Let's see, on Sunday, I guess. I want to say yesterday. Might have done the back on Saturday. I can't remember now. Have a good one, Ray. Thanks for joining the fun tonight. Okay, 2 more to go. 2 more grits. Let's see, we need the gray. That's not the gray. Where's the gray? Here's the gray. And these 2 will go pretty quick. And we'll do a little bit of buffing. Should be pretty good. Now this is one of those things you got to kind of watch what you're doing here. You don't want something hair or something else. You know, another thing that could kind of on me that could get caught in this is my cord. Probably wouldn't do that much damage to me, but you got to watch out when things are spinning around on a lathe. Just be aware of, you know, what you have, hair or long sleeves or anything like that, shirts, loose fitting stuff. You don't want to get sucked into the lathe. It's tough to be patient. I just want to hurry up and get this thing done. Okay, I think we are ready for final grid. I am going to wipe that off. And stand back. We'll go with this one. I don't know, like I said, so the green is somewhere around 750 grit equivalent. The gray is around 1150, I think. Maybe 1200. And then this blue is something like 2,000 or 3,000, I think. Something like that. I don't know for sure. It lists the micron level only, and I was trying to kind of figure out if I could convert that to an approximate grit. And I think, like I said, I think that green is 750 or so in that ballpark. Gray is 1150 and blue is like 2,000 or 3,000. And I have no clue the ones that are even higher than these. I'm going to call that good. So let's get, what am I doing? I got to get the thing out. Get the bowl out of there. Got to get that camera plugged back in too before it dies. Actually, the battery's good. We're good. All right, so I'm just going to wipe off. Got a little bit of funky going on there. Man, that thing's looking, I mean, it's not too bad as is. Let me get the camera kind of where in front of a light here. Zoom out a little bit. But I mean, you could walk away and that ain't too bad. It's like a matte finish. But we got gloss. We want to make it glossy. So, we're going to move over to the buffing wheels. Just going to kind of turn the camera. I'm going to keep, oh, yep. Hold on. That didn't work, did it? Stupid connector. All right, here we go. Now, you can see. I mean, it's already looking pretty cool. Might be a little bit too bright. Turn that light off. So you could stop if you wanted to go for kind of a matte satin, maybe a one or two more grits higher, but you can stop at that point and it's done, you know. Just depends on what you're going for. Like I said, we want gloss, so I'm gonna just kind of angle the camera without really moving it too much. Yep, there it went. Stupid connector. Makes me mad. All right, I gotta do, let's see here. There we go. Don't worry, I see it. Oh, what was that? Hold on, guys. Hold everything. Oh, camera broke. What is wrong with this camera? Hold on a minute, guys. Nothing but problems. It made an angry beeping noise at me. It doesn't like me. Just want a camera that works. Might have to pull one of the other cameras over here again, because this thing doesn't want to do anything. Let me try and reset and do something with this camera here. Okay. I think this thing's dead, so we're gonna move the other one over. Nope, not that one. This one. Got to get my little holder thingy. Okay. Now, I think you should be able to see me from a distance. If I switch cameras, we should be good to go. Yay! How exciting. A camera that works. Go figure. Oh, watch out. Just want to get this cord out of the way so that I'm not tripping on on the cord and causing even more damage. Okay. Here, let me put it on this thing. Okay. We'll just kind of put a light on right here. So you can kind of see what's going on. All right. Whew. Averted disaster. I seriously do want to throw that thing against the wall. It really is annoying when you're trying to do all this stuff and the stupid connectors are not letting you. So the next step, we're going to hit it with some triple E. The triple E wheel. First, I'm going to slow that down. It doesn't need to be going 50,000. And I'm going to start with the outside. The inside is kind of hard. Obviously, I can't really use this wheel on the inside. So I'll show you guys how we're going to tackle that. I got a bowl buffing wheel that we can set up. Oh, I usually have a light over here too. More of these awesome LED lights, I'm telling you guys. You can just clip them onto things and there we go. They're like 30 bucks or something like that. They work good for filming, obviously, also. Yeah, I think this thing's going to turn out pretty good. I'm going to get you guys even closer here. Let's move in. Let's get up in here. What do you think? All right, so it's looking pretty good. Where did I leave off? I don't know. I really think this might be one of the coolest bowls I've ever made. It's definitely one of the thinner ones that I've made. I usually kind of leave them a little bit thick. Partly because I chicken out a little early. I'm like, it's good. But the other reason is I kind of like some of those bowls were, you know, they had really cool stuff in them. And so I really didn't want just a tiny thin piece, you know, of resin left. Went for chunky to kind of keep the stuff. I can get the front rim here. You got to be careful. You don't want to, you know, have the thing kind of grab on you and throw your perfect piece across the room. So just kind of keep a grip on it. All right, so that's looking good. I'm actually going to put gloves on again. Let's see, what are you guys chatting about here? Tom! Do you have two buffing wheels together? Nope, those are just single buffing wheels. It's the Beal 3-on setup. Alright, so I'm going to stop this so I don't inadvertently grab it into there. I'm going to kind of get this under the light. It's looking pretty darn good. Garn good. Okay, you guys see that? Do see some scratches in there, but I don't know. I'm gonna do a little bit more work on the bottom here. I might have to go back and touch up the bottom. Like I said, I may not have done all that I should have with the sanding. I don't know. It's looking okay. All right, so I guess we'll just move over to white diamond and get the back done with white diamond now. I'm gonna move you guys back just a little bit. Just so I have room. A little faster though. Definitely digging the clear gloss. Better than the kind of satin, whatever, the unpolished look. All right, I think that's about as far as we can get with these wheels. But I mean, it's looking pretty good from the back already. So now we're gonna pull out, I have these little bowl buffs. They're another Beal buffing thing. I'm gonna turn you guys around here. So I'm gonna get everything broken down. We're done with all the water and all this stuff. Sham wow. Done with all that. But I have these little, oh, you guys aren't really looking over there. I got these little bowl buffs that work pretty good. They're not bad. And again, it's a Beal product. Same as the 3 wheels. I only have 2 of those wheels. I took the wax wheel off because I just don't use it. And it gave me a little bit more room between the 2. Let's see here. It's the same system though. There's Triple E white diamond and there's a wax wheel from Beal. Do these things fit in here? Nope. Do they? They do. Okay. So let me just get the lathe set up here. Let me get all this stuff broken down, out of my way. One thing I want to kind of show you guys on these big jaws, the way that you get them off, you use this little tool. There's a hole in the middle of these things, and you just, because normally you would come in on your jaws. Where's my jaws? Normally you come in from here on a normal jaw, and so you just kind of come in between the two screws and you pop them right off. Easy as pie, as they say. Okay, chuck put away. Okay, now I have this little mandrel thing. Where is that? Ah, it's right here. But I don't know where the Allen wrench is, of course. You never know where the Allen wrench is. All right, so this again, another Beal company thing. You could just stick these in a, in the past, before I had this little mandrel, I would just stick them in the drill chuck. But now that I've got these things so they can screw on, I'm going to go for that. So I'm going to put the triple E wheel on first. And get my mask on, get my triple E bar. Get you guys kind of in here. Can you see? Sort of. I have no viewfinder on this one, so just gotta kind of hope. That looks pretty good. All right. Get that nice and charged up. I'm going to get the front a little bit more. So that's working pretty good. I think I'm going to move the camera because you're kind of standing where I usually... the camera's kind of where I usually kind of stand, so let's get you guys over here. Works pretty good though. I think that's pretty good. Let's get out the white diamond. Oh no, I dropped it into the muck. Party foul. That's a good way to introduce scratches into your turning. All right, I'm going to blow this thing out before I use it. Try and make sure we don't have any scratchy things in there. This time I'm going to hold on to this until it's actually threaded. There we go. Okay, and then white diamond bar. I got it running about 1500. I run the little buff, the little bowl buff's a little faster. I usually run the other thing about 1000 to 1200. Ooh, that's looking pretty good. What do you guys think of that? It's got some fuzzies on it. It's pretty clear so far. All right, now the final step. I've been doing this using the car polish stuff, and I've been really happy with that. Now I don't have a bowl buff style, but I have a 6-inch wheel that might get into and work for the inside of this bowl too. So I got this a string buff, super soft. They call them string buffs. They're not cheap, but they do work extremely well for like a super high polish. They're not as fuzzy either. They don't give off a bunch of fuzzy dust. And this is just a tapered mandrel, they call it. Makes things kind of easy. You can just quickly change out your buffing wheels. And then what I've been using is the Meguiar's 105. I've been getting pretty good results. I apply it to the piece, rub it in a little bit, and then just buff it off. So let me stop before I do this. Super chat. Thanks, Ann. I appreciate it. Look at that little pear guy. He's cool. Nice. Did I miss any others? No, okay. Task lighting is from Amazon, yes. And I mean, I bought them honestly for video stuff, but I have them everywhere in my shop. They work, they're cheap, pretty cheap, and they work great. And because I already had them for another use, you know, some people this may not work as well for other people that aren't videoing stuff, but I already had these things for a specific use, so I had a few of them with a few batteries. So I'm gonna shake this up. And just going to kind of rub it in. And it just gives you a really nice gloss. And you know, there's lots of different like plastic polishes and car polishes and stuff that'll probably do pretty much the same thing. But for me, I've been getting kind of the best results using the 105 with buffing wheels like this. I need a microfiber cloth to set that down on. My hands have that stuff all over them. Probably better to apply it with like a paper towel or something. So now the question is, hopefully I can get this thing in. This is a pretty soft wheel, so it should hopefully conform to the inside of the bowl. If not, well, I don't know. We'll just have to see. I'm going to slow it down a little bit. That'll let it kind of conform a little bit more. I also want to be kind of careful. I don't want this thing to kind of grab and pick up. And I also have to watch out for the mandrel itself. But it looks like it's getting in there all right. Just gotta kind of watch what I'm doing here. I think some of that stuff kind of dried in there. I'm gonna get a little bit of water on this paper towel real quick and just kind of scrape that out. Whew! All right, now I'm going to get the rim. I don't know. I think there's still some polish charged in this wheel, so I don't really think I need to add any more. Okay. I think it's pretty good. I'm gonna bring you guys on this side now, so that I can kind of just put you right there. Microfiber this thing. I got some new microfiber towels. I got a whole bag of them for 12 bucks. Figured, shoot, I'll take it. I'm just gonna kind of wipe it down with the microfiber. Get most of that fuzzy stuff off. You guys on camera? But I mean, that's pretty glass-like, pretty see-through. What do you guys think of this kind of purple? We got a little bit of purple. See, this is some glitter. We were trying to get pink for Jen, and that didn't really work out. But we got some little glittery things. I think the purple might have been for Julie. I don't know. We had 3 people. We got a little bit of pearl. Some. I think that might be the what is it? Plum Crazy, Caster's Choice, and then some of that pink glitter stuff. that didn't really work out. But and then the Easter grass, pretty wicked. I'm pretty stoked about this thing. So I'm gonna bring you guys over. Let's see how the eggs fit in here, if the eggs fit. Maybe I should say. I hope the eggs fit. Oh, stepping on cords. I really need a wireless camera system. That is, I think, what I need, because I am just going to go through these cables and things all day long. All right, so we got 2 eggs so far. Ooh, I think they'll work. And 1 big one. I think it'll work. They'll kind of like sit out. It'll kind of sort of scratch this thing a little bit on the inside probably, but I think we're good. These 2 guys fit. You could probably fit 4 little ones, but I think we can, if these are kind of sitting over here, I think that we can get this 3rd one in. So this is going to be what we turn on Wednesday. And it's all ready to go. We got it epoxied. It has the Mylar shreds in it with a little bit of green pearl powder. So I'll be turning that into another egg. Hopefully I'll get the egg shape nailed on this 3rd and final attempt. And it should be pretty good, but let me, I'll give you guys another view of this bowl while we're sitting here. That's pretty good, huh? Can't really complain about that. It's probably not, probably isn't even focusing, but hey, I tried. All right, now bear with me as I get my camera back over where it's supposed to go. Don't look. You'll get dizzy. I promise. Ah. Whose idea was it to put the lathe all the way across the shop? Terrible idea. No, actually, it was a necessary idea. So anyway, guys. Oh man, whew. All these cameras are fighting me. They were battling me, but I overcame them. So I hope you guys had fun with that. Like I said, Wednesday we'll do another stream. We'll make an egg. And man, well, this is, I think, the first Easter project that I've ever done on my channel. So I appreciate you guys joining the fun on the stream. I know it was just kind of sanding and polishing, but hopefully it was informative and kind of fun watching, seeing it come to life. I'll tell you what, it's interesting that the difference between sanding up to 600 and that like super high gloss, it just once you get to the buffing wheels, it just comes to life, and the piece is like, there it is kind of thing. So I hope you guys get out there, try some resin casting stuff. Like I said, be diligent with your sanding, going through all the steps. I really recommend that you wet sand pretty much the whole way through. I think you'll get better results. You'll have less scratches at the end, less of that burnishing in scratches that you just can't get out. And another thing, if you give the car polish or some other step, I'm finding that something else, there needs to be one more step above the white diamond. I don't think that wax is a good way to go because it just ends up rubbing off. Like it breaks down really fast. But I think, plastic polishes or car polishes, and I don't know which one's the best. I'm getting good results with that 105 from Meguiar's. I'm also going to try their 205, which is an even higher gloss. But I mean, I don't know. I don't even know if it's worth me spending however much, $5 for a bottle of that. This, the 105 is bringing up a super high gloss on these things. So give it a shot. Let me know what you guys think about that. I think that I'm probably going to be adding that to pens, to anything that I just polish up. Hit it with, some sort of, a polish after the white diamond, and I think you're going to be even more stunned. Usually on pens, I'm fine with white diamond. It's glossy, but I'm going to start trying to hit it with one more step and see how they turn out. So anyway, guys, I hope you have a good night. Yeah, this is a fun project. I mean, especially if, for Easter. Eggs are a pretty simple turn. Obviously, I didn't get the egg shape nailed. But, you know, I think if you just give it a couple shots, you know, I think on this third one, I'll be able to get in there and get that egg, you know, both ends of it kind of shaped correctly. But even if they're kind of wonky, they still look like eggs. So the eggs are pretty easy. And then the bowl, I mean, bowls are really, like, small bowls like that are super simple. There's not much to them. If you just grab a carbide, you know, and I like the negative rake, again, I really recommend that too. It just makes it super simple. You could use, I like the #1 hollower. I think that's the best way to go on resin. The smaller cutter, it's taking less of a bite. So it's just kind of a smooth, easy tool, but you can just use the regular, you know, depending on what you have. I don't know what number this is, but it's just like, I think they call this like a mini, you know, just like the regular round cutter. I mean, it would do fine on a bowl like that. It would work great. It's a little bit bigger. It's going to take a little bit bigger bite, slightly, but this will work just fine on a bowl like that. You can get the whole thing done on, you know, pretty much with that tool. But yeah, I think give it a shot. I mean, I think it would be fun to make. So fired again? What was that? I'm not sure. What do you mean, Tom? Fired again? %? Oh, I see. Doug, you're all fired. Why is everybody fired? I don't know what's going on here, Doug. I gotta scroll up a little bit and see what's happening here. I don't know what's happening. I missed it. Sorry, Doug. Anyway, guys, I hope you have a wonderful evening. Stay safe and stay healthy. Hunker down. Hopefully it won't go on for too long. But if it does, you know, I'll just kind of, as long as I can keep continuing to do as much content, I'm going to put it out there and hopefully give you guys something to do, even if it is just me sanding a piece up and polishing it. So like I said, Wednesday we'll turn up the big egg. That'll be the final part of this project. And then Friday we'll be doing, I think what we're going to do is, we got, let's see, I forget who sent this. I can't remember offhand, but I think we might do all these crazy ropes and fun things. Shoot, I can't remember who sent it. It was, you're probably watching and you're probably like, duh. But I think we might do that on Friday's stream. So anyway, guys, have a wonderful evening. What day is this? Monday? Have a wonderful Monday, and I hope you have a good rest of the week. If you're still working, and if you're out there on the front lines, thank you for you know, your sacrifice and your hard work out there, keeping everybody safe. And if you're still working, hopefully you'll have a good work week. If you're stuck at home and you're not working right now, hopefully you're staying busy, and hopefully, you know, with more videos and content and streams and all that stuff, you'll stay sane. But one other thing I want to mention is make sure, you know, it's great to get out in the shop so you're not just sitting at home. If you are stuck, if you are stuck at home, make sure to get out and get some exercise. Go for a walk, do something outdoors. It just, you know, don't be stifled inside. I think that it's really important to kind of get some fresh air, even if you got to go out there with a mask on. So anyway, guys, happy social distancing, and I will see you all on Wednesday. Have a good night.